So we are going to try this live streaming thing again. Bear with me as I continue to get set up here. How you guys doing? I am trying to work through a couple of technical difficulties over here to make sure that I can actually do this chat. I tried this earlier this week and it did not really work out that well for me. So I'm attempting it again. Hopefully we'll be able to make it happen. I have, I think, some pretty decent books to share with you guys. And I certainly have, I think, a pretty interesting story to share as well. So give me a couple of minutes. There's a few things I want to check and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so we'll record this thing. If people join, great. If not, it will be here for folks to check out. So I was watching Luther Manning. I think it was earlier today, maybe even yesterday. I'm a big fan of Luther Manning's channel. And in fact, anytime that this guy is actually, doing a video or trying to do a live chat, I always like to watch because I find his thinking very thoughtful, very methodical, and we have different tastes in books, but I actually like again the thought that kind of goes into his collection. He's also doing this sermon that he does where he kind of gives some words of wisdom for people to consider, which I appreciate, right? I can see how some may take it one way, but I certainly appreciate his sermons that he gives every time he's giving doing a video. And so in this particular video that I was watching, he made a comment around how he doesn't watch haul videos. And he was saying that the reason that he doesn't watch haul videos is because there's really no challenge to it. There's really nothing interesting to it. And he kind of went on to say that, people are doing haul videos and essentially what they're doing is putting up books that they bought off of eBay. And he says, he wasn't around in the early days of like YouTube with comics, but he was saying how, there were some other guys that were having this discussion around how back in the day, guys used to tell stories about how they were crawling around in attics and in basements and things like that, trying to find books. And so he just basically the gist of it was that there was no heart and soul into haul videos. And this kind of struck me because I wanted to do a haul video today based upon some books that I had yesterday. And I can tell you that there was definitely some heart and soul involved in this pickup. So I actually got an email from a guy saying, hey, I'm going through my garage. I just found, 2 boxes and a chest full of comic books. Are you interested? So, and the guy says, give me a call. So I buzzed the guy up and I said, hey, I'm Reggie, you just sent me an email, et cetera, et cetera. I wanted to follow up on the books that you were talking about. So he starts reading off a couple of titles to me from the books that he's looking at in the box. And he kind of says to me, I don't really have time to like go through all these, blah, 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 but you're more than welcome to come over and take a look. So I'm like, cool, let me do a couple of things and I will give you an update as soon as I can. So it was no less than 30 minutes later, I'm in my car and I'm headed to meet this guy and I'm sending him messages, giving him updates, because one of the things that I hate is when people come to buy books from me, they say that they're coming, but then you don't hear from them for like an hour. And then all of a sudden they're outside your door. So I wanted to be, I try to be always very thoughtful about how I buy books from people and courteous as well. So I'm giving the guy updates. He's not really responding, but again, I'm going to the guy's home. So, who cares? And so I get to the guy's house. I call him on the phone. I said, hey, I'm out front. He's like, come on up to the gate. So I get there. He meets me at the gate. We exchange pleasantries. And he says, oh, you brought your own box, right? Because I like to be prepared. So I brought my own box for what I was hoping to buy. And so we get to the guy's garage, and he shows me these books, and he's like, go ahead and look through them. So I kind of flip through them, and while I'm doing it, I'm kind of chit-chatting with the guy. And I'm chatting with him because, I like to have a story to tell, right? And you guys have heard some of my other stories, some of which you deem to be dangerous. So I like to have a story to tell. So I'm like quizzing the guy, kind of talking to him, and he's a very talkative guy. So we're having a good conversation. And he says, yeah, these books have actually been in my office for the last 20 some odd years. And he's like, I just shut my office down. So I kind of let the comment go. Hey, Pope, how you doing? And so I kind of let the comment go, but then I revisited a little bit later and I said, so, what kind of shop was it? He's like, oh, well, I owned an automotive repair shop in town for like the last 20 years. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let it go. We talk about some other things, and then I revisit back to it. And I was like, so, are you retired? And the guy says, I'm basically a dead man. And he's like, I have terminal cancer and I'm basically a dead man. So I'm flipping through this guy's comics, and he's basically talking about his own death. And when he first said it, I thought he was joking, but then he got very, very somber and kind of head down. And I realized that he was not joking. He was dead serious. I mean, pardon the pun, but he was serious about this. He goes on to tell me that he has testicular cancer that metastasized throughout his body. And he says that he is essentially getting his affairs in order so that his wife doesn't have to worry about anything when he's gone. And it hit me, just how one like short life can be, but then it was an incredible moment to be standing in this guy's garage and be having this conversation with him about what he's facing in his personal life. So yeah, so Pope, it blew me away when he said it. And I'm one of those people, I don't do well with like emotion, especially like sickness emotion. And so, my thought was like, how do I get out of this? And it's like, I don't know what to say to this guy. But he interestingly kind of pulled himself out of it within like a minute or so. And he kind of went on to say, we started having this exchange about how what men do, if they're doing the right thing, is to make sure that their families are taken care of if they're no longer there to take care of them. And he made the comment that he would love to spend more time with his wife, but unfortunately that wasn't, what was going to happen. And so we kind of talked and changed the subject and started to talk about a few other things. Yeah. Hey, DS Comics, how you doing, bud? Sorry, I'm in a different setup, as you guys can tell, and so my things are kind of all over the place. But it was a powerful moment when this guy said that to me, and so we talked about we talked about his wife, who I had happened to meet because she's the one technically that sent me the email and signed his name to it. And so she and I had a laugh over that because my wife does the same thing, sends emails on my behalf, signs my name, and he had no clue that she sent the email, but that's what wives do. So we meandered around various topics, and at one point I was going through the books, and I kind of got to some of these. What is this? Inhumans number 6. You guys can see that. Inhumans number 6. And Inhumans, what is this? Number 1? Yeah, number 1. I actually already have a copy of this one, but I picked this one up as well. When I kind of uncovered those Unhuman books, right below that, those books were a stack of Muscle and Fitness. And you guys know, professional bodybuilder, right? And so he and I then had this amazing conversation about him. He's actually a power lifter. I mean, he was a big guy, you know, still, even with the cancer, he's a sizable guy. But he tells me that he just a few months ago competed in, I think it was 5 or so powerlifting competitions, and placed and got gold in all 5 of them. Which is very impressive, right, for this guy's age. But he goes on to tell me how he used to train Arnold Schwarzenegger and Franco Columbu back in the day. This guy's like, he's like a trainer of bodybuilders and strongmen. So it was just this interesting situation where, of all things, he's a comic book guy and he's a fitness guy, you know. So he pulls out all these old photos of him, you know, in great shape, and he shows me one of him on stage. At one point, he did a bodybuilding competition. He pulls out some of his old clothes. Like, this guy, I mean, I'm a decent sized guy, but this man was massive. He was at one point 275 pounds and was about my height, at about 6 feet. So it was, you know, it was interesting to see these clothes versus his size now versus my size. It was just, he was a massive man and a formidable man. But he goes on to say to me that he believes that it's because of his level of fitness. That's the reason why he's still fighting the cancer the way that it is. The way that he is. Because he says I think he's stage 4. And his comment was that he should be in the house curled up in a ball popping pills. But instead, he's working out 5 days a week and doing karate at least a couple of times a week. He's training a 50-some-year-old woman for a bodybuilding competition. I mean, it's just, it was one of those experiences that, like, it's one in a lifetime, happenstance. I don't really know what you want to call it, but it was very interesting to be standing in this man's garage having this conversation with him. And just a few days before, my wife and I, my wife brought it up. She actually wanted me to do a will, or us to do a will, for, you know, purposes like this, accidental purposes, things that are unplanned. And it just had a profound effect on me. So I wanted to share the story. I don't know, you know, if I should have shared it, but I was touched by the story and touched by the experience, and I thought that I would share it. To me, it makes the books that I picked up from this guy even more meaningful than just getting the books, right? Because the books that I bought are books that I, for the most part, already have, right? But it was the experience, you know, because it's easy to spend money. It's another thing to have a powerful experience and to be able to tell a story. And so I come home telling my wife about this story, and I get a message, and it's the guy. He says, "Hey, I have a question for you. Can you give me a call?" So I call him. I was like, "Gary, what's up?" And he's like, "So I'm getting overwhelmed with all these people that want my books." And he's like, "Do you know of anybody that would want my collection in its entirety?" So I made a few phone calls for the guy. I found a person that will probably go buy the collection from him. And so he's sending me messages just thanking me for this. And I'm like, you know, if, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, it was a small thing really, but I guess it was an important thing for him that I was able to kind of help him. So again, I just thought I would share that story because it was a powerful experience for me. So I'll show you guys some of the other books. I have never owned Werewolf by Night of any sort before. So thank you, brother, Matt. So I picked up this one, Werewolf by Night. I think it's number 14. And the thing about the guy's collection was that it was basically most of everything was unbagged. There were a couple of Gru books, which I had never heard of until I saw his collection and then came home and searched online for it. But he had a lot of Gru, and all of those were bagged, and that was like his favorite character. And it was a series or a title that his wife actually used to buy for him. So go figure that those are the ones that get bagged up. But I grabbed this one, X-Men number 85. So I thought that was a pretty cool book. And I think just about every one of these books will need to be cleaned and pressed. This one has a a really bad spine roll, but I think that it's something that a good presser can probably take care of. But a very cool book. I don't have this one, and I definitely want it. So wanted it. Oh, you know about Group Hope? I had never heard. I thought he was saying Groot when we were talking on the phone, but he was saying Gru, and he said his comment to me was, "I have the full run of it," and sure enough, it was like stack after stack that this guy had, doubles of some of this stuff. So I didn't buy any of that. Then I got X-Men number 98. Again, another really great X-Men book. Unfortunately, he only had the two, so I bought both of those. There was a lot of other stuff that he had. Gru the Wanderer, yeah. Who said that? DS Comics. So there was a lot of other stuff that he had there. He had some Gru. He had some Army books. He had some coverless books that, a lot of Superman. He had, there were a lot of things there that I passed on, primarily because, his thing was, I don't want someone that's just going to buy my books and turn around and sell them. I think what he wanted was someone that would buy the books and be able to like treasure the books, maybe the same way that he did. So it was, I didn't want to just buy things and then turn around and sell it. So I primarily bought things that I wanted, right? That I wanted to read or have copies of it and wanted some additional copies of. So the big purchase, I think, if you want to call it a big purchase, is that he had a pretty decent number of Eternals, right? And you guys know Eternals are pretty big right now with all the hype that's going on around the movie that they may make about the Eternals. So I bought them not necessarily because of the hype, but because I read the story, the entire story, about 2 weeks ago, and I enjoyed it. Maybe not issue 1 and 2, right? Kirby's writing was a little rough then, but I certainly enjoyed the later issues. Pacific Comics, yeah. Started Eclipse, yeah. Yeah, so I actually did not get the number 1, and the reason that I didn't get it is because it had a huge rip down the middle, and the thing is that I have a full run in really good condition that I purchased about a month ago, I think. And then I have number 1 and number 2 graded, I think is a 9.4 signature series and a 9.6, the number 2. So I have those books already covered by and large. So this is number 8. And as you can see, there's a little waviness in the book. Again, they weren't bagged or boarded or anything, so they're definitely going to need a press. Number 10, and there's definitely something funky going on up there. I don't know if that was, I think it was like back in the day, you guys may know better than I, when they stacked the books and marked them or something like that. That may be what that is, or it's just, I don't know, some futz. And then I got number 11. And like I said, I've actually read all of these. So really, really great story. The Unimind. And what was crazy is I found a more modern, I think it was Avengers book. And they actually had the Unimind on the cover. And it's like, had I not read this series, I would have had no clue what that thing was. And then I think I've seen recently a couple of books with, I think this is Mercury right here. I think I've seen a couple of books recently with Mercury. I got excited when I read this originally because I thought that was the real Incredible Hulk. But if you guys have read the story, you know that that's like a robot that was created with like all the strength. There's actually 2 copies of that. One of them was bagged and boarded. I'm sorry, no, one was bagged. The other was not. And I went ahead and just got both of them. But again, this is like a robot and not the real Incredible Hulk. Definitely got excited about that until I read it and realized what the deal was. Number 16, sorry about that. I haven't been reading the numbers out. But again, super happy to have these books. These are like my second copy by and large. And he had a lot of them, almost the full run. You can see that one. It's like missing a chunk in the corner there. By and large, there were really no rips, no tears, no real staining on these books. Oh, I forgot to tell you the other thing. This is number 19. The other thing that he had in those boxes of his were a huge stack of Penthouse and Playboy. and those were higher on one stack than the Muscle and Fitness were. So his at one point I'm going through the books and there's like a penthouse right on top, and his wife comes in. I kind of like set some books down on it because, you know, the guys had these books in a drawer for all these years. I don't know what their relationship is, but I kind of hid my man's porn for him. So, and I, you know, when she left, I told him what I had done. He was like, she doesn't care, which is probably true, but still, I didn't want her to walk in with me standing there and porn to be there and him there. It was just an awkward moment. So I went ahead and alleviated that situation. So here is Eternals #1. This is the annual. I think it was the only annual. So I don't remember, but I think he's only missing, I think it's really like 1 through 7 and then a couple of others that are missing from that series. So again, super happy to have these. And then I grabbed this one, pretty much worthless, but it was Hercules #1. I've never purchased a Hercules book before, probably never will again, but I grabbed this one as well. So again, super happy to have these in my collection. I think all of these I'll probably have cleaned and pressed, and then I probably won't get them CGC'd. I think some of the pages are a little too far gone maybe to do that. You know, I like, if I'm going to send it to CGC, I want a white, off-white kind of page. I think these are a little bit darker than that, so I probably will not send them for anything like that. But anyway, I wanted to do this video really for 2 reasons. I wanted to test out my technology to see if I was able to fix my technical glitch that happened to me earlier in the week when I tried to do this. And the second thing is I wanted to kind of share this guy's story with you guys. I'm actually thinking about Googling the guy because I'd like to read about a little bit more about him, because I feel like he is, I think that he's had some important moments in his life. And so I may end up Googling him just to kind of see what I can read about him. But this is one of those experiences, again, that'll probably be with me for a very long time. I'm glad that I was able to share with you guys. I'm glad we were able to work out our technical glitch. Let me see what you guys are saying in here. Yeah, brother, so am I. I like to do more of this because it's actually cool to be able to interact with you guys. So big thing though is I have another 25 CGC books coming next week. So now that I've worked out the technical glitches, maybe I'll do that one as a live unboxing. We'll see how my week goes. But thank you guys as always for watching. Thank you as always for the comments. And if you haven't subscribed, I encourage you to do so. Take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Now, can you tell me how to stop this thing?